Hello, good evening everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. So एक बार सभी लोग क्लियर कर लेंगे वॉइस वगैरह सब ठीक है कि नहीं? Yes, so voice is clear. So guys, you can share this session to all of your friends because in this session we are going to discuss how can you maximize your marks in the remaining time, and if you are in the pre-final year then how to get the full score in the communication system in the gate 23, and when you prepare for the gate 24 then also it will be very helpful. So please share it as soon as possible so that we can start our session. So come on guys, share it to the everyone, share it to the everyone. So I'm waiting for the students to join so that we can discuss our start our discussion on this. Yes, so we have around. Good evening, good evening. Come on. So I'm waiting, guys. Come on. Okay. So let's start our discussion that how to score the full marks in the communication system in gate 23. As you know that there are only 2 months left, 2.5 months in fact, 15 days of November and the January and the December. So how to utilize these 2.5 months to score maximum marks in the communication system? Yes, Abhijit, we will discuss one by one. Okay, so it will be a very short session. I will be wind up in the 15 to 20 minutes. You can say if you are having more queries, then we can extend the session. Otherwise, I will take your query and then I will, first of all, I will give you my strategy, and according to that, we will come to your query and then we can wind up. Okay, Abhijit? So just before starting the session, let me introduce myself. So this is Saket Verma and have done MTech from IIT Guwahati, having more than 12 year experience in the field of teaching communication system and EMT in the field of GATE and ESE. And I have already cracked more than 3-4 exams like GATE, Airport Authority of India, and DRDO, right, and Bharat Electronics Limited. So you can take the guidance from those who have already achieved something in their life, so that they already know what are the problems comes in the student life, because one upon a time we were also a student. Now also I am a student because I am learning new things in life. Yes, good evening Janki, good evening. So let me tell you that BYJU'S Exam Prep Mega Mock Challenge is going on. Okay, this is from 15th November to 22nd November. You can register because this is the open mega mock test. You can see yourself where you are standing amongst your gate other gate aspirants, and this is completely free. Okay, here the you will see the 3 hours same environment like a gate. So 3 hours examination is there, and it will cover all the 65 questions, including the maths, aptitude, and the technical. Okay, so 13 marks your aptitude, sorry, 13 marks maths, 15 marks your aptitude, and the remaining marks, 72 marks around, for your technical subject. So this is open mega mock test. This is free of cost, so you should register yourself. The link will be given in the description also, so you can register yourself for this mega mock test. You can see where you are actually lying with your current preparation. Okay, so this is very important guys, don't miss this, and share with all of your friends also. So coming to the discussion of the communication system, the syllabus, first of all, I would like to share. This is the syllabus where we divided the communication system in the four different categories. First is analog communication, second is your random process, third is your digital communication and information theory. In the analog communication, we have amplitude modulation and demodulation, angle modulation and demodulation. Okay, and the spectrum of amplitude modulation and frequency modulation. So in the amplitude modulation and the demodulation, what are the parameters or what are the topics you have to cover? First of all, in the amplitude modulation, we should cover about its what is the amplitude modulation, what are their terms related to the amplitude modulation, how to generate the amplitude modulated signal, what are the different types of amplitude modulated signal. Like generally we discuss here the generally we discuss here the double sideband. Okay, we discuss here double sideband suppressed carrier, single sideband suppressed carrier and vestigial sideband. So these three topics and also amplitude modulated signal itself you have to cover. You have to see how we generate these type of signals and how we demodulate message signal from these signals, this modulated signal. Okay. Similarly, in the angle modulation and demodulation, we cover the phase modulation and the frequency modulation. So, phase modulation and the frequency modulation, these two topics you have to cover. How we generate the FM signal, how to demodulate the FM signal, what are the parameters associated with that, what are the power associated with that. This all you have to study in the analog communication. Coming to the spectrum of the amplitude modulation and frequency modulation, the spectrum actually represents the bandwidth of the AM and FM. So, when we will be discussing your amplitude modulation and angle modulation, you have to focus on the bandwidth of AM and FM. Okay, so you will be needed bandwidth also. Okay, when how to calculate the bandwidth of AM signal and how much power it requires to transmit the AM and the FM signal. So this part comes under the analog communication, and there is a very small topic that is super heterodyne receiver. So super heterodyne receiver also you have to study, and before starting the super heterodyne receiver, you should always start from the tuned radio frequency receiver. Why I am saying tuned radio frequency TRF receiver, which I say this is a TRF receiver. So once you understand what is the principle behind the TRF receiver, it will be very convenient to understand the super heterodyne receiver, because once we understand the TRF and its problem, what are the disadvantage, why we study the TRF and why we move into from the TRF into the super heterodyne receiver, that you will better understand when you will understand the main principle behind the TRF receiver. Okay, so that is why even though it is not mentioned in the syllabus, the TRF is not mentioned in the syllabus, you should study the TRF receiver as well. Now coming to the very more important topic, which is the random process. As you can see that in this syllabus, the random variable is not written, but the random variable, without random variable, it is very uh, you know uh, it will be very inconvenient or to understand the random process, and illogical, you can say that it will be illogical if you start random process directly from the autocorrelation and the power spectral density as mentioned in the syllabus, because without the random variable, the gist of the random process is incomplete. So first of all you should discuss random variable. Okay, first of all you should study the random variable, and after that you should move into the random process. Okay, so this is even though it is not mentioned in the syllabus, what are the different parts that you should cover if you want to understand the communication. First of all, I am telling you that how you can cover whole syllabus, and then I will move into the how to score maximum marks. Now the property of white noise, you have to study filtering of the random signals through LTI system. That means whenever you pass some signal through the LTI system, what effect will be there, that you have to understand what will be the output power spectral density when you give input to some system, when you give any random process to some system, when you modulate it, then what will happen. All these things should be covered under the filtering of the random signals through the LTI system. Okay, so now coming to the third part, which is directly starting from the PCM, DPCM. Yes, Altaf Ahmed, I will take your query, how to cover that. Just be in the session for the 10 to 15 minutes, your query will be solved. Okay, I am not going to extend this session very much. It will be finished within the 10 to 15 minutes and taking all your queries. So, okay, so digital communication, it will be PCM, DPCM, digital modulation schemes. So, this is the first chapter. Okay, this is the first chapter where we call it as a baseband. Okay, we call it as a baseband. So this is known as baseband modulation. Okay, this PCM and DPCM part comes under the baseband modulation, and as you can see, this is the digital modulation scheme. So this is also called the band pass modulation. Okay, band pass transmission. Then coming to the intersymbol interference we will discuss in both of the chapter, like a baseband transmission and the bandpass transmission. Then coming to this part, which is the map and ML detection, match filter, signal to noise ratio, all this. Okay, this comes under the noise analysis in digital communication, or you can say the effect of noise in the digital communication. Okay, so these are the three chapters, you can say three part of the communication, and the last part is information theory. So this is the information theory. In the information theory, we have to discuss about the entropy, mutual information, and the channel capacity theorem. So the channel capacity theorem, like your channel capacity is given by C is equal to B into log base to 1 plus signal to noise ratio kind of formulas. Entropy, what is the information unit, what is the average entropy, what is the conditional entropy, what is the mutual information, and then the next part of this information theory is the error correction, Hamming code, and the CRC. So this is the complete syllabus we have. Okay, so this is the complete syllabus we have. So up to this part it is clear that all of you are aware with the syllabus. All of you are aware with the syllabus or not? So comment, Altaf, Janki, Avijit, comment once that all of you have completely understood the syllabus, and do you aware with all the part of the syllabus? Yes. So Altaf, it is clear, right? Now coming to, okay, great Animesh. If you have my recorded lecture also, then you can just follow this guideline that I am going to tell you. Now, what is the student point of view about the communication system? Yes, you will be able to complete the complete syllabus if you start from now. Okay, it will take around one month around maximum with all the problems, and if you watch it 2 hours per day. So yes, communication crash course will be coming in the next month, December first week around. Okay. So first of all, let me explain you what is your point of view about the subject. As you can see, there are a lot of topic. There is a lot of topic. So that is why student thinks that the subject is lengthy. Okay. But that's the first point. The second point, you can say that in the last 5 years, you will see the communication questions are little bit tough relative to the other subjects like EMT also, and you will find that the questions from the communication systems are tougher than the other subjects. So that is why sometimes you at this point of time you want to leave this subject. The third point of view of the student is there are lots of formulae, and because of that if you start it now, then you will not be able to practice the questions, and you will not be able to memorize the new formulas at this point of time because now the exam is near. So there are 3 points which generally comes in the student's mind when they start preparing the communication at this point of time. When you start it early, suppose like in the June or July month, then you will not be having this kind of thought because you will be having a good amount of time with your in your hand, and you can give sufficient time to all the topic also, and also you can give time to the previous year questions. But at this point of time when you have already studied 7 to 8 subjects, and you have to revise those 7 to 8 subjects, you have to appear the subject wise test series for those subjects that you have completed, and at now when you want to start the new subject, then these are the points that generally comes in the student's mind. So what is my point of view? When you start at this point of time like November or October end, then the correct sequence of the subject is important. How to start the subject, what are the subjects that you have to focus on are important. Okay, the second is make your short notes while preparing or starting the subject. Suppose you are reading the lecture, you are studying the first lecture, then you should start preparing the short notes along with your lecture. There is no need of making notes at this point of time. If you are watching online and if you know that you are going to get the PDF, then there is no need of making notes at this point of time, because you will waste your time if you will prepare the complete notes if you are starting the subject now, because the subject is already 70, 80 or 100 hours, more than 100 also can be there, and if you are giving 100 hours of time at this November month, and even when you are preparing the notes also, then what will happen? When you prepare the notes at this point of time, what will happen? You will pause the video, you will write it, then again you will listen it, so that 100 hours will become 150 hours for you. So it will be just waste, because you have to give the test series also, you have to practice the question also, you have to revise the previous subject also. So just make a short note, and when you want to revise the subject thoroughly, suppose, then what you can do, you can just download the PDF, and from the PDF you can revise. But if you have understood the lecture completely, you have understood the concepts very clearly, then by writing the short note only you can just revise all the concepts. If you have understood the all concepts clearly, then when you will see the short note, you will be able to recall all the points. So the first point, that if you are preparing communication system now, then the sequence of the subject is important. The second one is, when you watch any video or when you watch any online lecture, then you have to make short note, and third is revise those short notes regularly, so that at the end of the subject you should not feel like I am not able to recall the first chapter which I have started 1 month ago or 20 days ago. It should not feel like that. So when you end the subject, you should feel like my whole subject is completed, and it can only be happen when you revise it regularly. And practice is the key. That means whenever you revise any topic, then solve at least 5 to 10 questions from that topic, because you will be having some DPP, you will be having some practice question with you, you are having your previous year questions. So suppose you are reading today amplitude modulation, okay, so suppose you have finished the complete amplitude modulation in within 2 days. So after 2 days, what you have to do? You have to solve the previous year question, solve the previous year question from this particular chapter. Okay. Similarly, because each chapter you have to take almost 2 or 3 days, 4 days maximum at this point of time. You can watch continuously amplitude modulation because you will be having the recorded lecture. I don't think there will be any live lecture right now for this subject, because in this point of time we always have crash course kind of thing in any paid course. So you will be having all the recorded lectures with you. What you have to do is you have to watch one chapter in a continuous way without break. Means continuous 2 or 3 days you have to study the amplitude modulation, and whatever the questions you will be getting in the lecture itself, the in terms of example the faculty will be obviously teaching you then any topic, then after the topic he will also solve few questions to make you understand the concept and formula. Then when you will finish all the things, then solve the previous year question from yourself. Don't see the lecture, don't just see the short note that you will prepare during the lecture, and after revising just go to the previous year question or any practice set if you have, then solve the 5 to 10 questions and then move into the next chapter. Likewise you have to go. Okay, now this is what I feel, and let's take your call. What is your query? So what should be the sequence, sir, if I am going to read the communication now? So this is the very important question, that if you want to, okay, if you want to start now, what should be your correct sequence? Because you are starting now, there is no point of wasting time on reading the hard topic of the subject. Okay, so first of all, very basic topic is your amplitude modulation. Okay, first of all, amplitude modulation, you can start directly from the amplitude modulation. See, if you want to save the time, you can also start from the angle modulation also, because the angle modulation, the topics are less. Okay, what you can do, you can directly start from angle modulation, because in the angle modulation the topics are less and the probability of questions from the small topic are more than the amplitude modulation. Okay, these two chapter you can change, interchange also, because the amplitude modulation almost having 10 to 15 topics. So when you finish all the 10 to 15 topics, it may take around 10 to 15 hours of your time. Okay, and you might get any question from amplitude modulation, because the weightage of the amplitude modulation is bit less. And in the angle modulation you have only 5 to 6 topics, and when you cover all the 5 to 6 topics, there is a good chance of the question coming from the 5 to 6 topics. So any one of these two you can start. If you want a bit flow also, and suppose you are not having a basic understanding of modulation, okay, if you don't have any basic understanding of modulation, then you should start from the amplitude modulation. And if you are much familiar with the term modulation, then you can directly jump into the angle modulation also. So any one of these two chapter will be your sequence. If you read angle modulation first, then you have to study the amplitude modulation in the as a second chapter. Then after this take the super heterodyne receiver. Okay, super heterodyne receiver, because this is only one topic, and there are only 2 3 formulas. Okay, there are only 2 3 formulas, and if they will ask the question, then they will directly ask the question from these 3 to 4 formulae only. Okay, and now the fourth one is, fourth you have to study about your random process. Okay, random process you have to study. Random process, especially the properties of autocorrelation and power spectral density. There will be definitely one question from these property. Okay, one question definitely they will give you from the property of autocorrelation and power spectral density. Okay, so this will be your sequence. Let me take another question. Yes, good evening, Surya Prakash. Altaf, how to revise the complete subject effectively? Suppose you have already studied the complete subject, then when you revise it, try to revise in a way that you are teaching to someone. Okay, if you want to, if you want to have very good command over the subject and all the formulas, then just revise fully the complete subject from your original notebook, and try to revise in such a way that you are teaching to someone. Okay, suppose you know the concept of the square law modulator, then just tell to yourself that yes, I have to take first of all message signal, and then I will add message signal with the carrier signal, and after the addition I will transmit it through the square law modulator, which is a nonlinear device which will give you the output and input characteristics, and after getting that I will draw the spectrum. I will see what are the frequency components coming, and because my aim is to generate the double sideband full carrier, I am looking for the upper sideband, lower sideband and the carrier. So I have to use the appropriate filter. So which filter I have to use? Just draw the graph and see what are the possible filter you can use. Then you will see the appropriate band pass filter can be used. What should be the characteristic of band pass filter? So likewise, talk to yourself. When you revise any subject, talk to yourself, teach yourself, speak loudly. That means, not loudly means that it is not like that your neighbor should listen. Like a just we talk to ourselves in that way, teach yourself. Okay, so in this way, if you go and once you finish any topic, just pick up the 4 to 5 good questions that you might have marked during the first time when you were reading the subject first time. You might have seen some typical problem from particular chapter. Those questions you should have marked. So if you have marked those questions, once you revise the subject in the way I am telling, that like a teach yourself, revise all the formulas, then go to those typical questions only. No need of solving all the previous year questions, because this is not the time where you should solve all the previous year question. I hope that you have done it before. If you have solved the previous year question previously, then no need of solving all the previous year question now, because there are few questions which are easy. So there is no time for us to solve the easy question. Now we have to solve the questions in which we had stuck previously, and once you have done with those questions also, and then try to give the topic wise test if you have not appeared, and once you revise the subject completely, then appear in the subject wise test. Okay, so your flow should be like this only. First of all, you have to start from the amplitude modulation or the angle modulation. Yes, at least Altaf, do it at least for the 1 or 2 chapter. See the difference and let me know in the telegram, or if you have my number in the WhatsApp. let me know what are the problem you are still facing, because it is important. If you share your problem, then only I will be able to tell you that how can you improvise now. Okay, so according to me, sorry, so according to me, this should be the way of revision. If you are at least revising for the first time thoroughly, if you have already revised 2 3 times, then the procedure may be different. But if you have read the subject 2 3 months ago and now you want to revise it completely, then you can go with this procedure. Okay, so this would be the fourth chapter, and after that you should take the fifth chapter. As after these four chapters, the fifth, you have to study about the PCM. PCM, where we have to study the sampling, we have to study the process of quantization. Okay, so these topics, we will be expecting the questions from the bit rate, from the inter-symbol interference, because last 2 3 years we are not having any question from the inter-symbol interference. So definitely we can have the questions from the quantization, where we want to calculate the signal to quantization noise ratio, and the second, we can expect the question from the ISI. So this year in the gate 23, in the PCM, it is very high chance of getting the questions from the ISI and the quantization, where the PDF will be given, and a PDF will be given. They will be we will be from the PDF, they will be giving you some outputs, like you are quantizing something and the PDF of the signal will be given to you, and you have to calculate the noise ratio, like that. Okay, so when you finish all this five topic, then you should move into the information theory. Okay, then you should move into the information theory, because the noise in the digital communications are little bit tough. So you should move directly after the PCM. Information theory you can cover if you are starting now. Okay, so this six topic you can go, and if you will go through these six topics, then you will be covering around 60 to 70% of the questions, 70% of the total syllabus. Okay, definitely there is a one chapter which is known as noise in the digital communication, which is your probability of error, from where there will be definitely one question. But it is possible that you find this type of question bit tough. Okay, you can find this type of question bit tough. So that is why I am keeping it in the seventh number. I am keeping it in the seventh number. Okay, so noise in digital communication, I am keeping it in the seventh number. And now the last one, because in the noise in digital communication, what you have to study, first of all, let me tell you, here you have to study about the probability of error. Okay, probability of error in baseband, simply in the PCM system, and in general also, not in the modulation technique. So probability of error, and map and ML coding, map and ML decoding, like this. These topic you can read in this chapter, and at the end you can discuss the digital modulation technique, because there are no questions from this digital modulation techniques in the last 4 to 5 years. So we can take this chapter in the last, where we have to understand the constellation diagram. So because the constellation diagram, they are not asking the questions, so you can keep this in the last order, because once you understand the digital modulation technique, after the understanding of the digital modulation technique, you have to again read the probability of error for this modulation technique. Okay, for the amplitude shift keying, for the frequency shift keying, you have to again read the probability of error. So this chapter, in the seventh chapter, we are going to cover in two different parts. First part, we will be discussing the match filter and discussing about the optimum threshold by the map technique and ML technique, how you calculate the probability of error minimum. These things, first of all, you will understand in the noise and digital communication, from where they usually ask the question. And after that, you don't need to discuss, or you don't need to study the probability of error in a modulation technique. Probability of error in a different modulation technique, you don't need to study at that point of time. Once you complete the eighth topic, then you can again move to the probability of error, because you have already understood the concept behind the probability of error, map coding and ML coding in noise and digital communication. Now you just need to apply it for the digital modulation technique in the eighth chapter. Okay, so likewise you can prepare. So Animesh, do you have any more doubt on this? So this should be your flow. Okay, this should be your flow. Then you will be definitely able to solve maximum question from the communication system if you start now. If you start now, then also you will be able to complete the full syllabus and score maximum marks when you follow this flow. Anyone? Yes, Abhijit, it's enough to complete the communication system in 1 month. Yes, it can be done in 1 month. It can be done in 1 month. 1 month is sufficient if you give, okay, 1 month is sufficient. 1 month is sufficient if every day you give 4 hours in communication system. Okay, because it is around this subject, if you want to cover full syllabus, then it is around 100 120 hours if you are seeing any recorded lecture. And if you are seeing any recorded lecture, then give yourself 4 hours you can save for communication system, and rest 5 to 6 hours for your other subjects. Then you will be able to complete the communication system with the very good command, because you will be able to solve all the questions, practice questions, you will be able to revise, you will be able to make notes. Then it will be taking 1 month completely, and if you give 4 hours every day. So these are the standard textbooks if you are seeing, and if you are preparing the communication system for the first time for the GATE 24, if you are preparing for the GATE 2024, so these are the books that you should follow, because they have asked the question directly from this textbook. Okay, so these textbooks are very very important. They ask the question directly from the textbook also, because the communication system and in the EMT antenna, these subjects are those chapters from where it is difficult to make the new questions. So they take directly the reference from the textbooks, and then they will just modify something. Although there are direct questions from the unsolved problem of these textbooks. So here you can see in the analog communication and the digital communication, there are two books, analog also and the digital also. Analog and digital communication for this Ramakrishna Rao, and analog and digital communication by this is the Sean series, third edition. Okay, so these books are very good books, and if you want to solve the questions more, and if you have solved the previous year questions, you have solved all the test series questions, you have solved your practice question, and even though you want to solve more questions, then you should prefer these textbooks unsolved questions, so that you may get good idea about the new concept, and you will be able to crack the question in the gate directly, because there will be few questions which you will not be able to crack directly, but if you prepare from these textbooks, then you will be definitely able to crack those subjects, those question also, because the reference will be any one of these five books. Okay, you can also gate preparation you can do from the free ebook which is provided by the BYJU'S Exam Prep, and that you can download from the link given in the description and subscribe now. And again, I'm telling you, don't forget to have the open mega mock test for gate 2023, which is starting from the 15th of November. Okay, which is starting from the 15th of November. This is 15th of November to 22nd of November. Register yourself, because all the questions are just touching the level of the gate examination. You will get the real environment. You will see yourself where you are standing with respect to the other. So it will be good to see you all there, and it will be very beneficial for all of you. It will be around 3 hours, and like a gate, and you will be having all the 100 marks covering full syllabus. Okay, so anyone having any doubt in this? Anyone having any more doubt on this? Okay, so I think that is enough discussion we have done. And if you are joining it now, then just go through the video from the beginning. You will have all of your queries. You will be having the solution of all of your queries. And if you have still any doubt, then you can ask me in the Telegram. Thank you.